Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing another Ouija talk, specifically on places where you can safely use a Ouija board. Now, recently I made a video of places you should not use a Ouija board, and I gave the reasons why. This video is going to be kind of more, I guess you could say, recommendations on places I would recommend using one. Now, one quick little disclaimer I always like to put out with these videos: I am not a paranormal expert by any means. I'm not a professional. I am simply a girl that likes spiritual, spooky things. So, this is just for entertainment purposes. Like, I just gotta put that out there. But yeah, and then really quick before I get into today's video, I know we are very quickly approaching the fall season. We're very quickly approaching Halloween. So make sure you're subscribed, because I definitely plan to post a lot of fall Halloween content in the upcoming weeks. October, I'm gonna try to post a video every single day. Also too, I do post a lot of shorts on here, so make sure you're subscribed. Also check out some of my other social medias. I have TikTok. My TikTok is Queen of Horror 666. I post a lot of little shorts and like random videos on there. Check out my Instagram. It is @horrorlover13. And then I do have a Facebook page. My Facebook page is Queen of Horror. I also have a Facebook group. It is called Halloween Lovers 365. So we just kind of post random things on there that are Halloween related. So feel free to go follow all those. Also too, I do have an Etsy shop. My Etsy shop is at Sydney's Sewing Studio. The reason I shout that out is because I do have quite a bit of like Halloween and fall things on there. I like, as you can see in my background, I like sewing. It's kind of one of my hobbies. So I have some fall Halloween stuff like scrunchies, pillows, that kind of thing. So feel free to check me out on there as well. I know we got all that out of the way. So I guess without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay. So before I name the places, just one quick thing I do want to put out there time-wise. Like, when time-wise should you do a Ouija session? And I think I'm going to make an updated video of like a Ouija checklist, like if you were going to do a session, things to have, or, things like this. But just for the purposes of this video, a good time frame to do the session, I would probably say around dusk, maybe early nighttime. I would not do a session during the daytime, which I know some of you are like, what? Why not? The reason I wouldn't do a session during the daytime is because usually spirits are not as active during the daytime. They tend to be more active at night. So that's why I wouldn't do it during the daytime, mostly just success rate. A time frame, I definitely would not dare do a Ouija session. Never do one between the hours of 12 a.m. and 4 a.m., especially that 3 a.m. hour. Do not. And the reason for that is that's usually when spirits are the strongest. And I know it's like, well, like you would probably have the highest success rate, but because they're the strongest during that time frame, it makes it not the safest time frame. So I would say roughly like dusk, like early nightfall. That would be my recommendation for the best time to do it. So now that we kind of established when we should do it, where should we do it? The first place I would recommend doing one, if you're going to do one, is outside. I know it might be a pretty obvious one. The reason I say outside is because typically with spirits, well, the reasons you don't want to do it in your house. Like I think I mentioned in my last video on where you wouldn't want to do them. You don't want to do it in your house, because if you do it in your house and something goes wrong, now the spirit is like stuck in your house essentially. So by doing it outside, where is it gonna go? Like it could go anywhere, literally. Like there's so many options. So that's why I would recommend doing it outside. It reduces that chance of attachment. And I was gonna say, a lot of these are going to be just mainly the purpose of a lot of these is reducing that risk of, if something goes wrong, a spirit attaching itself to you or like your house, because obviously like who wants a spirit in their house? So the first one I would say is just outside. The next one, and before I say this next one, I'm going to put a disclaimer out there. I am not telling you, hey, go do this. I'll just say what it is and explain why I'm saying that. But the next one, abandoned buildings. So now I'm going to put my disclaimer. I'm not telling you to go find an abandoned building and do it, and I'm not telling you to do that. Like, obviously, if you're going to do that, make sure, like, you're allowed in the building, make sure you're following local laws. Like, I'm not telling you go into an abandoned building and do this. Like, if you know somewhere, or, you know, or have permissions, fine. Like, obviously, make sure you're following local laws if you're going to go in an abandoned building. But the reason I recommend an abandoned building is because, again, if you're following safe, like, local laws and not doing anything illegal, is one, again, you're going back to that attachment. Like, you can leave this place, you don't have to come back, so it makes it harder for a spirit to attach itself to you or your property. Also, too, depending on the abandoned building, like, I feel like a lot of abandoned buildings kind of have little mysterious things, if you will. Like you know, like, there could be, like, you know, like, there's history in abandoned buildings. Like, there could have, so technically you really don't want to use a Ouija board somewhere where something traumatic happened, because you might have a vengeful or an angry or an upset spirit, and yeah, that's a whole other thing. But, you know, depending on, like, the building's history, or, you know, or how old the building is, like, you know, you might have more spiritual activity, depending on what happened there and all that. So that is why I would recommend an abandoned building. Number 3, vacation rentals. And I'm going to put another disclaimer. I'm not telling you to go rent out a log cabin in the middle of nowhere and do it and trash it and things go wrong. Like, if you do this, like, if you want to do the right thing, like, make sure the owner is maybe okay with it, or, like, basically when I tell you guys these things, I'm not saying go out and do it. It's a recommendation. Make sure you're following rules and regulations and aren't doing something to get yourself in trouble. But again, the main reason I say a vacation rental is because, one, again, going back to that whole attachment thing, you don't want it attached to you or your home. Also, the reason I say vacation rental is because, with the exception of outside, with a vacation rental, like, at least, I mean, obviously, unless you're doing something, like, crazy, like, at least it's a environment, like, it's an environment you can be in. So it's a little better than an abandoned building because you obviously gotten some kind of permission to be here. However, again, make sure you're following, like, whoever the rental owner is, make sure you're following their rules and stuff and not doing anything you're not supposed to be doing. But that's why I would recommend that. That's just more of a I guess you could say a controlled environment. It's an environment where at least it's like, it's somewhere indoors, so if you want to do it on a rainy day, you know, you have that. Next one, this one might be a lot easier to do. A friend's garage or shed. So if your friend is okay with the risks involved with using a Ouija board and you get their permission, by all means. And again, disclaimer, make sure you get your friend's permission. Don't just show up at your friend's house with a Ouija board and start doing things. They might not like that. But yeah, it sounds really shady because, again, hey, at least it's not getting attached to you or your house, like, but now it might get attached to your friend's house. But you notice I didn't say your friend's house. I said your friend's garage or shed. So the reason I say that is because at least if you, obviously, again, the big thing, it's not attaching itself to you, but at least if it gets released in, like, your friend's garage or shed, it's like, unless, like, their garage is attached to their house, it could be like, you know, which I know a lot of garages are like that, but if it's like a detached garage, there's kind of some level of separation. So now maybe your friend's just never going to go in their garage or shed again if something goes wrong. But now the reason, like, I guess if you wanted, you could do it in your own shed or garage, like, as long as it's not attached to your house, and maybe if something goes wrong, you just never go in there again. Me personally, I would probably prefer to, you know, in terms of risk and liability, put that on my friend than myself, in this regard. But again, that is up to you. Just obviously, again, make sure you have your friend's permission. Don't just go doing things. But again, I would never recommend, with the exception of like a permanent rental kind of thing or a permanent vacation home, I would never recommend doing it in somebody's house, because especially if people are living there and they're around it, like, there's just more risk. So I wouldn't recommend that. And lastly, this one's a little bit different. I don't have the exact details. You would have to look it up in your local area and see if this is an option. But maybe historical tours or ghost walks. So The reason I bring this one up, it's a little bit different, but sometimes, especially with some of these like ghost tour type of places, sometimes they will allow you to actually try to communicate with the spirits. Now, I don't know per se if they're going to say, yeah, you can bring a Ouija board. Obviously, if you like are going to do something like this, check with the place and see what you can and can't do. I do know, as an example, like Penhurst Asylum, that is up in Pennsylvania. I think I made a video on that like a long time ago, but if you guys want a video on that and its history and stuff, because right, it is a haunted house. It used to be an asylum a long time ago. A lot of not great things happened there. It has a very traumatic history, but they did like, they've basically refurbished it. Now it's a haunted house. But during like the rest of the year, like they'll open it up where like people can go on ghost tours and do their own paranormal investigations and things, and like, and even in a lot of the money for that, it goes back into it, so it kind of keeps that history alive, if you will, like where, you know, people still kind of remember like what happened there and that kind of thing. But the reason I would say, like, I'm bringing this up as an example, they allow people to do paranormal investigations. I don't know the entirety in the terms of the details, but like I'm sure some people can probably bring like spirit boxes, things like that. So see about maybe in your area if there's any ghost tours or historic walks or like things that allow that. Also too, kind of going off of that, a lot, like especially if you're doing like ghost tours or like signing up for paranormal investigation type things like that, it's usually in a controlled environment, and like you kind of have people, like you might actually have like true professionals that know what they're doing, know what's going on. So if something goes wrong, like they can kind of help and guide you. So actually, I feel like that might be your best option. Like, again, and I'll put a disclaimer, like I'm not saying going to any of these places is going to make you safer than if you do it somewhere else. Like obviously, yes, all these places I just listed, it's far safer than doing it in your own house. It's far safer than doing it in a cemetery. Like, a lot of these are like far safer than those things in terms of if something goes wrong in attachment, or if you do it again at places where lots of people are dead, like that can cause its own thing. But a lot of these places are far safer, but it still does not, it never guarantees your safety, because I've said it in videos before and I'll say it now, like the dead don't have rules. We have rules, they don't have rules. They literally have nothing to lose. Like they have no rules. So I do feel like out of all these options, if I were to do something on this list, I would honestly probably say like, you know, like a ghost tour or a paranormal investigation type thing where, yeah, you might have to pay money, but usually you do have experienced professional people that are doing those things. So they can ensure your safety and that things go right. Like, and again, like, especially too, if you're not as knowledgeable or experienced, like things to look out for. So the 5 different places I would recommend you use a Ouija board if you're going to use one would be outside, an abandoned building, a vacation rental, your friend's garage or shed, or a haunted, like, or a historic walk or ghost tour, paranormal investigation type thing. Yeah, those are the 5 places that if I were to use one, I would probably do one of those. All right, guys, so that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I think we kind of learned the moral is we just don't want to do it in our own home because we don't want anything getting attached to us. And I've said it in a previous video, we don't want to do it somewhere else, like where there's a lot of dead bodies or people or whatever, a lot of spiritual activity, because if there's too much, that can cause problems, which I've talked about in a previous video recently. But yeah, so that's it. So make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Again, make sure you subscribe because I'm going to have a lot more videos coming out, especially September, October with the fall season, the Halloween season especially. And also too, guys, feel free to comment down below any video suggestions you have or anything you want to see me do, especially with Halloween coming up. Like anything in particular, let me know. But other than that, that is it. So till next time, bye guys. And just remember, always say goodbye.